What is up, ladies and gentlemen? This is Anthony, of course, with VR 365 Live. Welcome to another episode of our show. I actually do not know what episode number this is. It could be like 29 or 30 or something like that. We're somewhere pretty close to that, I believe, but I don't have it in front of me. So what is going on? Now, those of you that are in chat, a little bit earlier, I did come on there as VR Game Rankings and said that I would be starting at about 11:10. And so a little bit late on the jump off today, basically a little bit behind schedule here. And I got to admit, folks, this is going to be a bit of another S show, as we like to call it. Not the Oculus S, but the other kind of S that you get on the bottom of your shoes when you're walking through the park. I mean, how often does that happen? You're walking through the park and all of a sudden you start to smell something really bad. Well, that's kind of what this show is probably going to be about. Now, we do have a number of topics we can get into today. Number one, I played Beat Saber on PlayStation VR. I played it yesterday and I have my thoughts on Beat Saber on PSVR. So we do have that. Number two, we also can get into the best games of June 2018 as we continue to move through the year of 2018 and we celebrate the best VR games of 2018. And we've gone through the first 5 months of the year: January, February, March, April, and May. And now it's time to get into June, so we could also get into that. And then in addition, there are a number of announcements as well that are going on. We're getting some release dates. Some pretty big things are happening. Some announcements and some news is starting to pop off. So why don't we go ahead and get into that, folks? And let's go ahead and start this off here. Let me see if I can go ahead and grab a brand new trailer. We got a brand new release date and a brand new trailer for Blade and Sorcery. Now, you might remember when we were covering the games of December. We're covering the games of December. This was on Sunday. We didn't know for sure if Blade and Sorcery was absolutely coming in December. Now, I had heard, somehow I heard of this date of December 14th for Blade and Sorcery. I don't know where I got that. May have been just some random thing, but it is not December 14th, but we do have a date for it. We also have a brand new launch trailer, so why don't we go ahead and check that out? All right, that is Blade and Sorcery. I believe the developer is Warp Frog. This is going to come on December 11th, and I'm pretty sure December 11th is Tuesday, right? It's next Tuesday. So bada boom, bada bing. We got another big one that is coming on Tuesday. December is typically a lighter month overall. You don't normally have a lot of major game releases in the month of December, and if they do come in December, it's usually in the first couple of weeks of December, and this looks to be a pretty big one here. We could kind of call this Violence VR. You know, I mean, they could have called this game Violence VR. Do you guys remember that lawyer? Wasn't there a lawyer named Jack Thompson or something like that? He was like a Florida lawyer. And I remember this back in the old Grand Theft Auto days, like when Grand Theft Auto was very new, or kind of like when the hot coffee mod and, you know, all these different things was going on with Grand Theft Auto, and it was more in the political news about video games are corrupting our children, you know, all of this kind of thought. They were kind of making video games into a bit of a scapegoat for all the different school shootings and everything that was going on. And I believe it was Jack Thompson. He talked about murder simulators. He talked about certain, not VR games, he was just talking about regular games, but he talked about them being murder simulators. And you know what, Jack? You might be right. You might be right circa 2018 on December 11th. Because this game here, Blade and Sorcery, I have been in this game. I have played this game to a degree. I need to get back into it, actually. And had I known that we were going to get a proper date for this, I would have got back into there last night. And so I need to put this down on my list of things to play maybe later today, so I can talk about it a little bit tomorrow. But I've been in this game, and it is a visceral melee combat kind of a game. Although sometimes, you know, you're seeing some of these slow motion kills that are going on in this trailer, and I don't remember it really kind of feeling and looking like that. I definitely stuck my dagger or my sword into somebody's head, but I don't really remember it like really going into the head like slowly with that kind of feel to it. But of course there is a slow motion mode. There is some kind of button that you hit where you kind of trigger a zzz, you know, you kind of trigger a slow motion mode. And so maybe if I stuck my sword right into somebody's noggin right after hitting that button and going into slow motion mode, maybe I would have kind of gotten that effect, but I don't really remember that in there. But you do kind of get this feeling, and I've felt this in a number of other VR games, and maybe this is something I shouldn't be revealing on air, but I'm just going to be straight up and honest about it. I have felt this emotion where I've been in a certain VR game where there's like swords or slashing or whatever, and you're dealing with enemies, and it's almost like I turn into a bit of a psychopath for a brief minute there. You know, I will have my headset on, and I'm like, yeah, okay, come on, baby, I'm just gonna stab and just slice and dice and right in your head, yeah, and you you know, Scarface style, you know, and just get really into it. And sometimes I think, as I'm doing it, sometimes I think, wait a minute, what am I doing here? Am I starting to turn into a legitimate psychopath here? Is Jack Thompson, you know, is he right after all? I remember this actually in Island 359. Of all games, Island 359, the dinosaur game that you guys might remember, there are these little compies. You know, they're the little chicken-sized dinosaurs that are kind of running around the world. You might remember in Jurassic Park 2, remember that little girl that goes off into the forest or whatever, and she's going to eat like a peanut butter sandwich, and her family is having a really nice dinner right there on the beach, and like, oh yes, lovely, yeah, go ahead, walk along, and she's going off into the forest, and then like 500 million compies freaking attack this poor little girl, and I don't know if she died or what. I don't remember what happened there. That was it Jurassic Park 2, or was that Jurassic Park 3? I think it was Jurassic Park 2. But there's this game, Island 359. You have these little compies that are coming at you, and I remember I just had a dagger. you know, and I was just like a psycho, man. I was a psychopath, and I got really, you know, I got down low to the ground, and I'm like, I'm just gonna kill you compies like it's going out of, and you know, you grit your teeth, you know, you really feel that, you know, you feel that anger there, right? And but I started to wonder after a while, oh no, am I gonna, like, is this game gonna turn me into a raging psychopath? Am I gonna go on a rampage? And that's what I kind of think about when I think about Blade and Sorcery a little bit. The violence is absolutely over the top. Now, of course, the main thing that people knew about for Blade and Sorcery was the physics. It was all about the physics, right? You know, you would have the battle axe, you'd have the sword, you know, you're holding up the sword, you put the battle axe on top of the sword, and you kind of swing it around, and it's like, oh my God, actual physics. Two different physical objects are actually interacting with each other. They're bumping into each other. They're banging into each other. I forgot to close my door. Hold on 1 second. I will be right back. Sorry about that. Phone was ringing in the other room, so I didn't want to have that interrupting us during the show. But basically, yeah, so physics, that was the big thing with this game, right, is the physics are really high end. Now, here's the deal. I've been in this game, and the physics are really freaking good. The thing that I love about the physics in this game is you'll take a sword, a battle axe, you know, a hammer, whatever you're holding in your hand, and you could bang it on a table, you could bang it on a desk, you could bang it on a wall. You bang it on objects and it hits the object. You know, it hits the object, and there's also kind of a vibration when it hits it, and you just feel like pretty good sensations with things colliding with each other. I did the little trick where I held out my sword and I took the battle axe and I set it on it and I swung it around, and it works beautifully well. Now, here's the problem with Blade and Sorcery, and, you know, I need to play it more, and maybe I didn't give it a fair shake. But Blade and Sorcery is kind of a wave shooter, really. It's a wave, well, it's a wave-based enemy attack game. And it's not a shooter because you don't have guns. It's a melee game. But that's kind of what it is. It's just, you know, waves and waves of enemies, which is kind of a shame because when you're going through this game, you kind of get these impressions of Gladiator, you know, the movie Gladiator. You kind of feel like you're in the movie Gladiator at certain times. You also, like, especially this part right here, you know, this reminds me of Gladiator when you're in that open arena. And then there's other parts where you're walking around and it kind of seems like Skyrim, and you would look at the backdrops and you look at the graphics and you're like, this kind of looks like Skyrim, but it's got really good melee capabilities. It's got really good collision detection. It's kind of like the grown-ups version of Gorn. You know, Gorn is very cartoony. Even though there's blood going everywhere, it almost seems Nintendo-ish in its cartoony nature. It's very colorful. It's very cartoony. There is blood everywhere, but it has that cartoony factor where this one is going more for realism. And so, you know, Blade and Sorcery, it's an interesting game. I don't know how this is going to come, because I think a lot of people are looking at this as like, oh my God, this is a big, major, huge, incredible game. And I wonder if people are going to be a little bit too hyped for this. Why don't we go ahead and switch over to our web browser setup here. And let's see here. I need to find the Steam page. Okay, here it is. Here's the Steam page for Blade and Sorcery VR Fantasy Sword Fighting. Blade and Sorcery is a built for VR medieval fantasy sandbox with full physics-driven melee, ranged, and magic combat. Become a powerful warrior, a ranger, or a sorcerer and devastate your enemies. And the release date is December 11th. Developer is Warp Frog. And yeah, so this game will be coming next week. We don't have a price. Pricing is very interesting as far as this game is concerned. I kind of feel like this game reminds me of Arca's Path in that kind of way. I think if this comes out for $19.99 or less, I think it's going to have very good success, and I think a lot of people are going to feel pretty good about it. If it comes out at $24.99, $29, $34, once you go above that $19.99 price, people think about games differently. I don't know. Is that me? Is it just me? And there could be an argument made where price really shouldn't matter. I shouldn't care if this game costs $599 or if it costs a penny. I should judge the game based on the game. The problem is I've been a consumer for too many years of my life. I've saved up money for games. I've had a budget for games. So I think about the financial aspect of it. I think about the price. And there's something psychological. When you go over that $19.99 threshold, everything changes. Even if you're just going to $24.99, it changes the way you think about a game. And so I have a feeling that this game is probably going to be $24.99 or $29.99. And I don't know, maybe I need to give it more of a fair shake. Maybe I need to get back in there because I really didn't do much of the magic type stuff. I was mostly doing the hand-to-hand melee combat, getting up close and personal with my enemies. The bow and arrow didn't seem like it didn't feel very good to me. And I didn't get involved with the magic too much. So maybe I need to give this some more opportunities, some more chances. Get into what they have available right now. And of course, it's just going into early access. So we got to remember it is early access. It could improve by leaps and bounds. Physics are very nice. The physics are enjoyable, but I don't know if the physics are enough to completely carry this game. But that is Blade and Sorcery. Now, let me see. Did I pop out my chat? Where is my chat? Okay, let me go ahead and grab my chat. And let's see what some people are talking about in regards to Blade and Sorcery. We'll go back a little bit of little ways here. And VR Mustache says, aside from the perception of depth, the only other thing VR needs to constantly work on for total success is physics. And here it comes. Yeah, you know, realistic physics does actually matter a lot in VR. I think it helps you buy into the things too. And it's like if you go into a room and there's a table there, and if there's a lot of things on the table, if you can't pick that stuff up, I think that hurts you. And that hurts you as well. And then having the physics is great. Hybrid Energy says, it looks cool to me. It like a less cartoonish Gorn. And that's kind of what it is. Fuzzy Dragon says, I agree. Blade and Sorcery feels like a tech demo of a really great melee combat system wasted on a wave shooter. I don't know if Fuzzy has actually been in this himself, but it almost sounds like he has, because that's kind of how I feel about this. But I need to give it more of a fair shake. I don't want to like shortchange Warp Frog too much, because I didn't spend a ton of time into the like beta version that was out there. Prince Alexander says they need to make Skyrim with these physics. Well, I've probably said it 100 different times that Bethesda Game Studios needs to find the guy that is working at Free Lives that created kind of the collision detection and type of thing that was going on in Gorn, because at that point in time, that was the best melee system I've seen in VR to date. Now, is this beyond that? I don't know. It's better. It's definitely better in certain ways, but I don't know that it's better in every way, because one of the nice things about Gorn is people had armor on their body in Gorn, and you would like hit their armor and it would kind of wear away their armor in a very realistic fashion. And I don't know that that actually goes on in this game. When you're stabbing them, you're just stabbing them. You're not knocking pieces of their clothing off or pieces of their armor off. So Gorn in some ways might still be kind of better in certain ways, but this is also better in other ways. Kid Tokay says this looks like a Viveport rental. Ooh, that's kind of harsh. Hussein X said, I had to leave yesterday's show midway, but watched remaining later. Wanted to say Scraper is on my wish list. And there's a lot of people in chat talking about getting another copy of Arizona Sunshine. I don't know what is going on with that, but there seems to be something going on there in regards to Arizona Sunshine. Andy Sky says, I wasted my money on Gorn after 3 hours of repetitive gameplay and never play it again. Well, you know what, Andy? I got to tell you, Gorn, you just don't understand Gorn. And that's fine. You know, every game is not going to appeal to every type of person out there. There's going to be people that get into Gorn, play it for a little while, and they're like, what the hell is everybody talking about? I don't see it. Okay, it's kind of funny. Blood is squirting everywhere, and you're fighting these really kind of goofy, weeble wobble kind of guys that are coming at you. And, you know, there's kind of this comedic factor to the whole thing, but I don't get it. And that's understandable. Not everybody's going to get every game. In fact, honestly, I probably didn't get Gorn right away. I didn't understand Gorn right away. And then I think I saw the brilliance a little bit later. And the brilliance comes really with like the collision detection. It comes with like hitting somebody and kind of bouncing back a little bit and hitting them again. And that's something about Gorn, you know. But Andy Sky, he doesn't get it. And he says, how the heck Gorn sold 10 times more than Serious Sam 3? Don't understand it. But you know what? You got to admit, Andy, there are a lot of people that love Gorn and swear by Gorn. And Gorn, I think, has been ranked #1 on the VR Game Rankings top 100 Vive games. I'm pretty sure it ranked #1 not that long ago, actually. So people love Gorn. So, you know, I don't know. Some people get it, some people don't, I guess. Gorn is still getting really cool updates. That is Paradise Decay. And Chris says, I feel that way about Gorn. I don't get it. Yeah, and that's unfortunate, and that's why I really wish we did have demos. I wanted to back up here, though, and say Prince Alexander in chat, he says, price does reflect quality to a certain extent. And for me, as somebody that is covering this industry, covering VR games, and I'm reporting to you guys, I feel like I have a duty to report to you guys out there and kind of like give you the raw deal, the raw digga. You know, I got to give you the straight shot on these games. So I'm kind of reporting to you like a regular average Joe out there that used to be one of you playing these games, budgeting money, only having enough to maybe pick up 2 or 3 games a month. I couldn't buy every game that would come down the pipe, you know, so I had to make careful decisions. And I feel like price is a legitimate factor. I really feel like it is a factor, and it is part of the whole deal. Okay, so that's enough of Blade and Sorcery. Let's go ahead and switch back over here. I know I have another trailer. There's another bit of news that is coming out. Yeah, so actually, we were talking about this just the other day, folks. Let me see if I can find it. So remember Prey? Remember how there was going to be a VR thing for Prey? I forget if I was talking about this on VR Roundtable or it was one of our shows, but just a couple of days ago, I know I was talking about this. And guess what? Prey, Typhoon Hunter. We have a brand new trailer, and I believe we have a release date, and it's kind of coming out of the blue to shock it a little bit. Now, this is a PlayStation VR trailer. Let's go ahead and check this out, and let's see what this is all about. This is Prey, Typhoon Hunter. Let's go ahead and see how this is. Alrighty, so that is a pretty weird commercial for about a minute there. I was thinking, did I grab the right trailer? Did I download something that was completely had nothing to do with Prey? I didn't know. So, you know, one of the interesting things about this game, so it is coming on December 11th. So this is the same day as Blade and Sorcery. But one of the most interesting things about Prey is how the F do you play this game? Because it's coming to people that have like the Moon Crash DLC or something. So I guess you have to, A, you got to own Prey. B, you got to have the Moon Crash DLC, and then C, then you can get this Typhoon Hunter thing. Now, do you have to pay for Typhoon Hunter? Look at these spider-like things that are running around. I wonder if that is going to freak me out a little bit. I do have a thing for spiders. I have a problem with spiders. Now, I don't believe these spiders will bother me too much because they're not realistic. They don't look like spiders that are here on planet Earth. Realistic looking spiders. Okay, free for Moon Crash DLC owners. So you got to have this Moon Crash DLC. You got to have Prey. Like, is there an easy way? Is there a package that they can put together for somebody like me that doesn't have Prey, doesn't have Moon Crash, but I just want to check this VR thing out? Do I got to buy like 3 different things just to check this VR thing out? That kind of sucks. Don't really understand how all of that works, but I'm sure somebody has broken it down, maybe on Upload VR. So why don't we go ahead and switch over to our webby browser situation right here. Let's bounce over to Upload VR and let's see. Okay, Prey's long-awaited VR content is coming next week. Let's click on this and see if we can get a bit more information here. Okay, so the company today confirmed that the Prey Typhoon Hunter DLC will be releasing on December 11th. Okay, that's great. Okay, these new modes will be free to anyone that owns the Digital Deluxe Edition of Prey, or if you picked up the Moon Crash DLC. The VR content will support the Vive and PlayStation VR headsets. Elsewhere, Bethesda is also going to be publishing a VR spinoff of Wolfenstein. Yeah, we knew about that. Okay, so you got to get this Digital Deluxe Edition of Prey or Moon Crash. See, I don't know how all of this works. Okay, so why don't we bounce over here? Let's bounce over to Steam. Let's just look up Prey. Okay, there's Prey Moon Crash. Let me click on that. So Prey Moon Crash is $20, but it requires the base game Prey. So, and then you can buy this digital deluxe package where you get Prey and you get Prey Moon Crash, but you're paying 34 bones. Okay, we were just talking about pricing there. And I don't know, man. I mean, are you guys, now if you already own Prey, and you already, like, even if you don't own Moon Crash, but you already own Prey, I could see potentially paying another $20 to grab Moon Crash so you can try this VR thing out. But what if you don't own Prey or Moon Crash or anything? Are you really going to spend 34 bucks to play this little VR version, which is kind of like a multiplayer spin-off thing? Like, it's not even, you're not playing the entire game of Prey in VR. So I don't know. It's kind of like, I don't even, like, I have no basis. Like, I'm no help. I'm sorry. I'm not helping any of you out there in regards to this Prey thing, because honestly, you kind of need somebody to write a little diatribe to explain how this all works. I mean, it's perfectly fine. If you already own Prey and you already own Moon Crash, you're good to go. This is just a free thing that you can grab. But if you're kind of, I'm sure there's got to be a lot of us that we have not played flat games in a long time. There's got to be other people just like me that you got into VR around 2016, or maybe you even got into VR in 2017, and ever since you got into VR, you kind of left flat gaming off to the side. I know there has to be more than just me that have done that, and you've just kind of stepped away from flat gaming. So you don't own Prey. You don't own Prey Moon Crash or anything. You're only really interested in VR stuff, and this is kind of a back-asswards kind of a way to try to introduce this kind of a content. I don't know. I really think they should have some kind of standalone bite-sized thing that maybe we could buy for 20 bucks and then I would be willing to experience it. There's no chance in hell that I'm paying 34, 35 bucks or whatever just to try to check this out. I don't care how positive it is on the reviews, very positive, mostly positive, all these kinds of things. I don't know. I don't see that I'm going to go down that road. Okay, let me go back over here to chat. Let's see what some of these people are talking about. Main Fan says, Prey is 50% off right now. And people, again, they're talking about this Arizona Sunshine code, but I don't really know what's going on with that. Lee Wilson says, okay, so the Prey trailer did actually make me jump. Doesn't it almost look like an Oculus trailer in the beginning? It kind of looks like an Oculus trailer, especially this last part where it just shows that chair. It's coming right there. That looks like it was right out of like Marvel Powers United, you know, and then you see the guy kind of get into his Hulk costume or whatever. That looks like it's from an Oculus trailer of some type, and then it goes in, like you're wondering, okay, wait a minute, is this a Wayfair commercial? Like, is this some kind of like IKEA commercial? Like, what's going on here? Did I grab the wrong trailer? And then all of a sudden it freaks out and it says, these things are going to kill you. This furniture is going to kill you. This refrigerator is going to kill you. That coffee cup, that chair, that pillow on, that nice pillow on the sofa is going to F you the F up as a killer psychotic spider that kind of looks like it jumped right out of like Spider-Man. Like, this kind of looks like, what's his name from Spider-Man? Very much, you know, symbiotic, right? Okay, and Crunchy says, I'm not sure if this is worth playing in VR. Prince Alexander says, is that a completely standalone VR game, or is it running on the same engine as Prey? And Crunchy says, free update to DLC is cool, but I want to play Prey in VR, not just some small part of a side thing. And then also, I believe this is some kind of multiplayer thing as well. So I don't even know if there's like a single player version. Pancake Prey was great. That's Paradise Decay. Andy Sky says, Prey is AAA title game. So you're asking me $15, is it worth it? But you're not getting the entire game in VR, I don't think. I think what ultimately what is going to happen with this Prey, and for me, is I'm basically just going to have to wait till somebody plays this and then have somebody like explain it all to me and explain it to me like, well, you know, this is really just a multiplayer thing. You have to play with other people. It's not single player. I need somebody to break this down to me because it's a little too confusing about what exactly is going on here in regards to Prey. And then Paradise Decay says, Anthony, some of us got Arizona Sunshine in Steam as a gift. Okay, so I guess if you signed into Steam, sometimes it'll say like you have a little gift, or it'll have one of those little things where somehow it's a gift and you've somehow got Arizona Sunshine for free. That's kind of weird. So I'll have to check some of my different accounts. I've got like 5 different Steam type of accounts under different names and such. So I'll have to check all of that. So we'll figure out that later. But yeah, some people, I know there was a situation with PlayStation VR. It was that MOBA, Dark Eclipse or something like that. A lot of people were just getting free versions of it in their email somehow. So that was kind of weird. So there is that. Oh, the other thing I got to mention, guys, tonight is the Game Awards. Jeff Keighley 2018. This is the Game Awards tonight. Will there be any VR game announcements tonight? Or will there be some pancake games that feature VR support? We don't know. We're going to have to wait. We're going to have to see. That will be interesting, but we do have that coming up a little bit later tonight as well. Okay, let me go ahead and pop on a different trailer real quick, and I can get into a different topic. Let's see here. Why don't I go ahead and let me get into my trailer folder right here, and I will grab a trailer. I'll go ahead and just grab a Beat Saber trailer, gameplay trailer for PSVR. Okay, so this is Beat Saber by Beat Games. I've talked about it a million times. You've heard me talk about it a million times. You know, it's a well-known commodity. Why am I bringing up Beat Saber? Well, because I played the PlayStation VR version. I tried it out yesterday. VR Roundtable got a code for this. I don't know if Steve or Gary or somebody like reached out to Beat Games to try to get a code, or if we just randomly got an email from Beat Games giving us a code for the PSVR version of it. But either way, whatever the reason, I like to go into PSVR games of games that have been translated from the PC to PlayStation VR. I like going into these games, even if I've experienced them. I've done this with To the Top. I did this with Killing Floor Incursion. I did this with Raw Data. I've done this with a lot of different PSVR games where it made the journey from PC to MDVR football, you know, made the journey from PC, translated to PSVR, and I'm always incredibly curious, how does the translation work out? If somebody has a PlayStation VR and they have no Oculus Rift, they don't have an HTC Vive, they have no Windows Mixed Reality or anything like that, all they have is a PlayStation VR, are they going to have a watered down experience? Are they going to have a decent experience? Are they going to have a better experience? You know, anything's possible, right? Okay, when I first got into this, I had some troubles. I had some troubles with tracking. And of course, what I realized pretty quickly was my camera was not set in the right spot. My camera was set for seated based games because I had been playing Squishies, which is a seated game on PSVR. You play Squishies, you're sitting down in a chair, you have your two Move controllers out, you're manipulating things, moving things around, expanding the world, closing it up. You know, you're using these little things, guiding your little squishy guys all over the place. It's a seated game. And I had my PlayStation VR camera tilted a little bit downwards for a seated person. And so then when I got into Beat Saber, the tracking was all off. It kept losing me. It said, like, you're out of the play area, all this kinds of stuff. So, and then I realized it pretty quickly. It wasn't too hard. I whipped off my headset, went over to my camera, and like, okay, I'm going to have to adjust my camera a bit here. And this is one of the downsides of PlayStation VR. You know, being honest about the good and the bad of all these different platforms, one of the downsides with PlayStation VR is you really have to have your camera in two different places for two different kinds of experiences. If you're playing a seated game and you know you're sitting down, you're playing a seated game, you kind of want your camera a little lower. And if you're playing any kind of a stand-up game, you want your camera a lot higher. And it's kind of ideal if you have your camera up here and you have it kind of angled downward. So like the camera is kind of like bathing you, almost like a shower. Like you have a shower head up here and the shower is just showering down on you. That's kind of what you want to do with your PlayStation VR camera, especially if you're standing up. And then the other thing that you need to do is you need to back far enough away from your camera. You know, you need to get away, give it some space. And so I went ahead, I did all of that, got back, started playing it, and you know, oh, also at the very beginning I got into this campaign mode of Beat Saber, and somehow I had it set to expert, and I don't know how I did that. I must have accidentally clicked on something, and so I was in the campaign and it was set to expert, and I'm like, this is way too freaking hard. I suck. Like, how do I all of a sudden suck so bad at Beat Saber? I know I'm not great at it, but I know I don't completely suck either. And then I realized, oh, somehow I accidentally put this on expert. So I backed out of the campaign and I just got in the free mode or free play mode or whatever, where you can just pick whatever song you want. You can put it at whatever difficulty you want. And of course I put on Escape, you know, the song that made me cry and all of that. And so I'm playing this, you know what, and it works absolutely great. It works perfectly fine. Once you're standing far enough away from your camera, you got your camera positioned correctly, this is essentially the same game. Now, are there some differences? The only real difference is your sabers. They look a bit different. I don't know if you guys have noticed this during this trailer, but it's kind of like you've got these like neon, you know, it's like a neon thing and it's a neon wrapped around it. It looks a little bit different. Your sabers look different. I don't know if the PC VR version has been updated and the sabers look the same on the PC VR version, but the sabers are a bit different. The other big difference with PSVR is rumble. PSVR has a very strong rumble, almost maybe too strong. I think I kind of like I've mostly played Beat Saber with an Oculus Rift, on my Oculus Rift with Oculus Touch controllers, and I kind of like the subtle rumble that you get. You know, it's kind of like when you're hitting the boxes, you just get a little dung dung. You know, when you're hitting the boxes, you just get it's kind of a subtle rumble. PSVR, man, bam bam bam, it's a real rumble. Like, it's almost too harsh on the rumble. But for the most part, it is the same game. It's the same game. It's the same deal. You might need to be a little bit careful about like turning around, but you don't really turn around in Beat Saber. Everything is happening in front of you. Maybe if you got a little, you know, if you're like moving around too wildly and you get outside your cone of vision, that could be a bit of a problem. But I think it's outstanding. It's a great game. There's a lot of extra songs too. I was trying some different songs that I had never tried before that they have. That worked out pretty well. So it's all good on the Beat Saber front. I don't think a PSVR player is losing anything in this translation. It plays smoothly, works very well. That is a good thing. Even if you hate Beat Saber and you're like, God damn, I'm sick of Beat Saber, I can't wait for this game to go away, you still want this game to be an overwhelming success on PlayStation VR. Excuse me. You want this game to be an overwhelming success because PlayStation VR is by far the most popular VR platform out there. There's probably 4 million people on planet Earth, or 4 million PSVR systems at least on planet Earth. And this is the most popular platform, and we need to have killer games that people really rally behind, and Beat Saber is definitely one of those games. Okay, so that is Beat Saber. Okay, so now, what can we get into now? Well, we can go to news, but I guess if we're going to cover the games of June 2018, I should probably get into them now, because otherwise we're going to get too far along here. So before we go into that, let's just do a quick recap. The games of May, real fast, just a quick reminder here. We don't need to spend much time on this, but just really quick, once again, the games of May: Beat Saber, Rush, Compound, Sacrilith, The Forest, Wanted Killer VR, Red Matter, Downward Spiral. What is the game of the month for May? It's a no-brainer. Beat Saber takes it. We just spent a lot of time talking about Beat Saber. Okay, now let's go ahead and get into the month of June. And let me pop my thing up here so I have the dates of when things came out in the month of June. Okay, and so what is the first banger in the month of June? I actually only have 3 games that I really want to talk about in the month of June. So not a really prime time month. It actually is a little bit of kind of a slower month, the month of June 2018. And again, look, this show is your show as much as it is my show. This show is all about chat and everything. So like if I'm talking about the games of June and you're like, dude, Anthony, you forgot about blah, blah, blah. That came out in the month of June and it's a freaking badass game. You're crazy. How could you have forgotten about it? Well, go ahead and bring it up. We can always go back and cover these things, and we can always make corrections. This is your show as much as it is mine. So remember that. So don't be afraid to pipe up if you're over there in chat and you want to talk about something. But let's talk about the biggest games of June. And one of the biggest arrived on June 6th, and that is Virtual Reality by Tenderclaws. And I've talked about this game a number of times. Now, this game, I guess, started off as a mobile game, and then it hit the Oculus Rift on June 6th, and then later it ended up coming to the HTC Vive. Now, I was a little bit late to the party with virtual reality. I've heard people talk about it. I've heard people kind of rant and rave about it, but I didn't play this game right away. And I know VR Roundtable, I know we received a code for this, but I think we were a little bit late to the game. Like, I don't think we received our code right away. Like, I was not playing this game in the month of June. I came to this maybe like a month or 2 later. But the first time I got into it, I was like, God damn, these fools killed it. Much love to Tenderclaws. Like, seriously, I will give tremendous amounts of respect and props to Tinder Claws. I think virtual reality, and this is one of these games where you either are a lover of this game or you're a hater of this game. You either understand the brilliance of this game or you don't get it at all, and you're like, what the F are people talking about? Why do people think this is such a great game? I believe our boy Mame Fan is in that category. I believe Mame Fan tried this game and he was like, don't get it. I don't get it. Why does Anthony rave about this game? Why does Anthony like this game so much? I don't get it. But then you have other people on the flip side of the coin ranting and raving about it, maybe even calling it their favorite game in VR, period. I've seen some threads like that, especially on the Vive subreddit. Like when this came over to Steam and a lot of people were late to the party and a few people got their hands on virtual reality, they weren't aware of what's going on. Somebody keeps banging away on Grand Theft Auto 5 in chat. We've got Killer99. So was Grand Theft Auto 5 announced, or is that something, or are we talking about VorpX over there? But yeah, Main Fan checking in. Hater here. He is checking in. And Chris Gould, hater as well. So yeah, and you know, that's fine. That's fine. If every single game appealed to everybody, how effing boring would that be? Like if everything just appealed to if only, you know, if everything I liked, you liked, and if everything I disliked, you also disliked it, what the hell would there be to talk about? It would get very boring. So I believe it's a good idea. We can have discussions. Different people can like different things. They can understand different things. Now, how would I break down virtual reality? Well, for me, this game is all about its comedic factor. It's all about the dialogue. It's all about the writing. It's all about, well, Tinder Claws, like whoever was their writer. It's a comedy thing, man. And it's also just about like virtual reality in general. It kind of reminds me a little bit of accounting VR. You know how like when you're in accounting VR and like there's a headset here and you put it on and boom, it like transports you to this other world, and then it's like grab this headset and you put it on and bam, it transports you to some other kind of whacked out world. Well, that is very much what is going on here with virtual reality. You're kind of in this, you're in the future, okay, maybe 100 years into the future, and basically humans have kind of been relegated to being comedic entertainment for AIs. Basically, AIs are running the world, and humans are just kind of like, we're kind of like kept around to be entertainment value. We're kind of like the court jester, basically, for these really advanced AIs. And different AIs want humans to come into their little AI world for whatever weird-ass reason that they want you to do that. And so you're basically an employee. You're working for this company, and you have these different jobs where you got to go to these different whacked-out virtual reality worlds. And the thing is, the worlds are so different, and the voice work is so high quality. There's such a whimsical thing about this game, and you go to these different little places, and it's just, the difference is so different. Like here you're working with toast, you know, and you're putting butter on everything, and then this pinwheel. Oh my God, do I love the pinwheel level. The pinwheel level is just fantastic. I could pretty much spend all day in the pinwheel level of this game because it's the voice work of the pinwheel is just absolutely magnificent. There's a tumbleweed level where you're like in this tumbleweed thing. There's a level where you're just on the beach and you're just experiencing a sunset, and like this AI is like addicted to experiencing sunsets, and he kind of just wants you to be there and experience the sunset. And then there's also kind of a background story that's going on. Like, see that weird red room that you're inside of? When you're in there, it's like some other intelligence, or maybe a human, or maybe it's another AI, is like communicating with you and kind of explaining, like, you're kind of trapped in something, bro, but we're going to get you out of here. We're going to get you out. And then you're working with your regular boss. Comedy factor is off the chain link fence. It is Portal. It kind of has like a Portal-ish comedy factor to it, a little bit of an accounting comedy factor, incredible voice work. Visuals are dramatically different. Are there zombies? No. Are there guns? No. does it maybe get boring after a while? You know, maybe like the earliest levels that you're in are more creative and then it kind of like falls off a cliff a little bit. Maybe, I don't know, but I thought this is fantastic. I think virtual reality, I love it. I think it's awesome. And I think people like MameFan are a little bit crazy, but we need to have people like MameFan. We need to have differing opinions, right? Let me look up virtual reality. I was just curious what the price is on this. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so let's go ahead and switch over to our web browser. And so, yeah, this is virtual reality on Steam. And, you know, this didn't come to Steam right away. Now, it does say March 9th, 2017, but I don't believe, like, the VR version was actually operational until not too recent, you know. And so reviews very positive, all reviews very positive. It's $15. It's $15 and 50 plus explorable virtual realities, and an artichoke screams at you. An artichoke screams at you. How could you go wrong when an artichoke screams at you? And these different worlds are so different. In this particular world, it's all about this butter, or is it the toast? Yeah, no, it's the butter. Yeah, it's the butter. There's a butter there. And the butter is basically like an AI intelligence. And look at all these toasters that are all over the place. And at first, the butter just wants a couple pieces of toast on it. And he's like, oh, yeah, you smeared that toast on me so good. Oh, yeah, that feels so good. Okay, more toast, more toast. Oh, yeah, you smoothed it on me so good. It's just hilarious, man. And then you accidentally burn the toast, and he's pissed off about that. You know, this world here, I mean, look at the visuals, you know, completely different visual aesthetics, very basic on the graphics. It's kind of more of an artistic kind of a thing. You know, it's not like killer textures, man, 4K textures, man. You know, it's not quite that, but the visuals so different. The different levels are so unique. This is my favorite right here. You know, the pinwheel level, just absolutely fantastic. The most incredible, like, voice work of the year. If we have an award for voice work of the year, it goes to whoever did the pinwheel. At Tinderclaws, whoever did that voice, I don't know if it was one of the devs, I don't know if they hired individual people, but whoever did that, oh my God, they absolutely killed it. So that is virtual reality. That is the first big one in the month of June. We've only got 2 more. So let's go ahead and get into the next 2. Let me go ahead and grab the next one. And so the next one is budget cuts. Yes, the next game of the month in the month of June 2018 is budget cuts. This game got delayed repeatedly, but it finally arrived. It actually kind of came out, but then got pulled. Or, well, it came out to people like me that were previewing the game, but then it got pulled at the last minute. And it technically arrived on June 14th for PC VR. Now, budget cuts, we could do an entire show on budget cuts, because here's a game where we had the demo the day that the HTC Vive launched, way back on like April 5th, 2016 or whatever it was. We had a budget cuts demo that very day. The demo would last about 20 minutes or so, 18 minutes, 22 minutes, depending on how long you took to get through the demo. And the original budget cuts demo was one of the best things that you could possibly experience in VR. Everybody would say you want to play the lab and you want to play the budget cuts demo. That's what everybody recommended, and they were pretty much spot on with this. Now, unfortunately, we had to wait an incredibly long time to finally get this game. Well over 2 years later, we finally got the full game, and the truth is, the game has some issues, man. It's got some technical issues. So back when this game first hit, I had a 970 and I tried to play it, and it played kind of good here and there, but it also had a hell of a lot of problems. Well, I've got a 1080 Ti right now, so it should be night and day better, right? No, I've been in this game recently and it isn't really night and day better. In fact, when I first got into it, it was like Stutter City. Like, I was looking around and everything was kind of zzz, you know, like this. Now, finally, the good news is It was really crappy like this, and every time, like if I just stopped and kept my head perfectly still, everything was perfect. I turned my head, it got like all shaky and it got stuttery and all of that. But what I realized is if I just gave it a minute or so, it finally calmed down and relaxed and I was able to play the game. But it does have some jank issues. There still is some legitimate jank issues with budget cuts. So it's kind of a mixed bag here. This is still a very solid game from the standpoint of being a stealth game and the world that they created. And it's such a simple world. Like, this doesn't have like ridiculously high-end textures either, but you're walking around this world and there's something about the hallways and there's something about the environments where you kind of buy into it. And then the other thing is, this is a game where you're going to get down on the ground. You're actually going to get on your carpet. You're going to be kind of crawling around on the ground. Not a very good game for a wired headset. I got to be honest. This is one of these games where I would love to have the HTC Vive wireless setup, or I'd love to have a TP Cast or something like that, some kind of wireless headset. Like, for example, the Oculus Quest, if they could somehow get this working on the Quest, you know, if you had full wireless where you can get down on the ground, you're crawling around, you're kind of turning around this way, you're turning around that way, because you're trying to hide from these robots. And sometimes you got to get physically down on the ground and kind of duck, and you're hiding from these robots. And that was a real pain in the ass. Whenever I was playing this, I always got tangled up in my cord. But it's still definitely, you got to mention this game for the month of June. This is still a very strong game for the month of June. This is still a very big game overall in 2018 for VR. So Budget Cuts definitely deserves a bit of a mention here. Okay, and now let's go ahead and get to the final game for the month of June. Again, kind of a quiet month. But I'll also say, anybody out there, if you know of any other games in the month of June that you want to bring up, you can bring them up in chat or even in the comments after this show, and we can get into that. Okay, now, what is the last game of the month? It's JC's channel. No, that is just where I got this video from. It is Contagion VR Outbreak. Yes, so Contagion VR Outbreak, we had the demo forever and a day, and the demo was mighty impressive. In fact, honestly, if we're being completely serious about this, the demo may have hurt this game more than it helped this game, because I think a lot of people feel like they got enough from the demo where they didn't need to buy the full game. And then other people that bought the full game kind of came away with this feeling, well, there's not that much more than the demo, at least not right now. I know they're going to be updating a lot of extra stuff, but right now there isn't that much more than the demo. But Contagion VR Outbreak is developed by Monochrome Inc. You guys may have heard Victor Burgos on some different streams or on the various subreddits or doing AMAs. He apparently has recently left Monochrome, so this game is kind of a little bit of drama and a little bit of weirdness that is going on behind the scenes, maybe a little bit with Monochrome Inc., because I believe Victor Burgos has bounced, and I believe he was their prime programmer on this game. But this game did technically arrive on June 29th. You could pay $20 and you could get into the early access. Look at the size of that damn rat. That rat is like the size of a very large cat. I've never seen these outdoor areas, by the way, except when it's first loading up. Never really seen those outdoor areas. But let's go ahead and bounce over to the web browser here, and let's take a look at the Steam page for Contagion, because it might have a bit of mixed reviews, or I'm not sure what the reviews are like for Contagion VR Outbreak. Let's go ahead and click on that. Did that not work? Okay, click on it again. Okay, yes, so here it is. Contagion VR Outbreak. It did arrive June 29th. Recent reviews are mixed, but all reviews are mostly positive, and it actually does have a lot of reviews. There is the demo that you can download, and the game is $20. And one of the things that I'll argue with people that kind of talk smack about this game, this isn't $39.99. It isn't $29.99. This is $19.99. And I do believe if your price does not start with a 2, if you come in below that 2, you kind of get a little bit more of a pass, in my opinion, because it's only a 20 spot. It's not that bad. Now, the demo, people know the demo very well. Now, see this part right here? You're in an underground garage. Okay, so when I finally got into the full version of this game, you start off here. Like the demo doesn't give you everything. There's stuff that happens before the demo. There's stuff that happens after the demo. So it isn't necessarily a case where if you've played the demo, you've played this. There's additional content there. The other thing I'll say is they've improved this game. Now, I've never seen these outdoor areas like this. I have not gotten out here. I've still been stuck inside here. This is where I've been stuck, inside this like apartment complex or whatever. And I've talked about this before, but it really, really reminds me of this movie called REC, like record, you know, on your video camera. I believe there was a Spanish movie, or maybe it was in Mexico or Spain or something. There's a Spanish movie called REC, and then they made an American version of it as well. Really good horror movie about zombies, and it starts off and you're just basically in an apartment complex. And Contagion, this was definitely influenced by that movie in a major, major way. I think the zombies are pretty cool. And one of the best things about Contagion, period, is how it guides you through the game, because you're starting off, it isn't instantly a zombie apocalypse right away. You get in there before it's a zombie apocalypse, and it starts turning into a zombie apocalypse as you're going through the game. And I really appreciate that, because you go to your hotel room, you're talking to your girlfriend, you kind of have a cell phone and stuff, and you're trying to get a hold of your girlfriend, and then you hear noises outside of your apartment. You're turning on your TV and there's news reports on the TV. I really like how the whole intro and everything is handled. It's kind of a cool way, and that's why so many people love the demo, because they tried it out as well and they appreciated how it was so interesting, how you're kind of getting into Contagion and it's this zombie outbreak, but it's happening in real time. It's really a cool thing. But that is Contagion. And so these are our games. These are our games as far as the month of June. We only have 3 big bangers. We've got Virtual Reality by Tinderclaws, Budget Cuts by Neat Corporation, and Contagion VR Outbreak by Monochrome Incorporated. Those are the 3 games that we're going to look at in the month of June. Okay, so I'm going to bounce back over to chat and let's see what some people were saying about these different games that we've seen. So I'm going to scroll back a little bit here. Okay, Main Fan says, I don't like silly. VVR is silly. Yes, it is. Virtual reality is whimsical. It is incredibly whimsical. And I mean, it's the definition of whimsical, really. And so if you don't like whimsical, silly kind of crap, you will probably hate virtual reality. It just won't work for you. And so that's kind of what was Main Fan's situation there. We have Espefogel says, LOL, and then you suck butter up. Yeah, we're talking about the butter that you deal with, that AI butter where you're smacking the pieces of toast on it. Paradise Decay says, I thought VVR was refreshing. It made me laugh, especially that pinwheel. Yeah, the pinwheel was absolutely awesome. Absolutely love it. Hybrid Energy says, probably not my humor either, then Main Fan. I thought a lot of the humor in Portal was dumb. Simple Minds, I have to like the game itself. Main Fan says, I'm a killjoy. I admit it. So we're talking a little bit there about virtual reality. Now we'll get into Budget Cuts a little bit. Hybrid Energy says, Budget Cuts was awesome, but the humor was dumb. Simon Jones says, Budget Cuts. Man, I was waiting ages for this, but reviews mixed, so I've kept to playing the demo. Yeah, you know, Budget Cuts, the honest truth with Budget Cuts is graphically, the way you look at the game, I mean, I know it's using like some nice physics and stuff for like, it's kind of job simulator-esque and how you can pick up so many things off of the tables and stuff like that. And maybe that kind of causes some, you know, performance requirements there, but it doesn't look as beautiful as it should look for it to have as much performance issues as it has. And I feel like Budget Cut still has performance issues, and I feel like it shouldn't have as many as it does. And so I don't know, you know, I could see somebody not wanting to get into Budget Cuts, and eventually I believe there will be a day, like I would like to think that there will be a day when Budget Cuts just is butter smooth, performance is perfect, there's no problems, there's no jank, there's no weird glitches that are going on in the game, but I don't think we're there, man. And Paradise Decay says, oh, spread it all over me, baby. Yeah, no, that a quick look into Anthony's love life, I don't know about that. No, I don't think so. But dude, that was the butter. That's how the butter was. He was hilarious. He was funny. Hybrid Energy says you need wireless for this game. You really do. That's Budget Cuts. You absolutely need wireless. Simon Jones says, is it true that the demo is better than the full game? Well, the demo is a better, it's a better tight experience of 22 minutes than the full game is a tight experience. The full game has ups and downs. Budget Cuts, I don't want to sweep it under the rug and like basically say like Budget Cuts is a dud, you know, and it's an overrated game, one of VR's most overrated games, one of VR's most celebrated games that didn't live up to the hype. I can't say all of that because there is a really good game in there, but there's a lot of jank that you have to deal with, and there might be some performance issues. Maybe it's a CPU thing. Maybe it's just a bottom line where it needs a modern day CPU, and maybe that was most of my problem with Budget Cuts. Not sure. Mainfan says, took me a while to figure out the final boss in Budget Cuts, so Mainfan was able to get all the way through it. I'm kind of curious, Mainfan, what about the humor in Budget Cuts? You say you don't like things being kind of silly. Budget Cuts does have a bit of that silly humor as well, you know, all the little things that the robots are saying. Hybrid Energy says, yeah, VR Mania wireless is amazing, but for Budget Cuts, it is a must, in my opinion. It kind of is. It kind of is. In the same way, I would say Budget Cuts is kind of a must for wireless in the same way that Virtual Reality Football Club, VRFC, which I know it's like Football Nation VR or whatever they're calling it, they have an experimental mode, a room scale mode that is experimental. You got to go into the options and turn it on. And that is perfect for wireless, but it's virtually impossible to play without wireless. And I think Budget Cuts is kind of similar. You really kind of need wireless because you're going to get down on the ground. You're going to be crawling around because you're going to be hiding in these office cubicles. And that's the brilliance of the game, is crawling around. And yet, if you're crawling around on the ground and you have wires running everywhere, you're going to get a wire wrapped around your ankle or whatever. So it's going to be an issue. Simon Jones says, the great thing about the demo of Budget Cuts was it really made you use room scale. Yeah, and the real game does as well. There's no smooth locomotion. It's a teleporting game. There is no smooth locomotion as far as I can tell. I don't know, although maybe in the options somewhere. Paradise Decay says, wait a minute, Moss came out in June. No, Moss is one of our February games. I believe it came out like February 27th on PlayStation VR. So I typically will go with its first arrival as being that date. So Moss was a late February arrival in the month of, I believe, February 27th, going off the top of my head, for Moss on PlayStation VR. So I consider it a February game. Hybrid Energy says the demo was so good. Let's see. So we're scrolling along here. And Hybrid Energy says, so the section from the demo is still in the full version. I'm not sure if he's talking about Contagion VR or if he's talking about Budget Cuts. Budget Cuts, they like redid the graphical engine. Like the robots look different. So it doesn't really have that in the demo there. Paradise Decay says, virtual reality for me. I think he's talking about the games. And then Hussein X says, didn't Marvel come out in June? No, I believe it's July. We might have to double check on that. And Hybrid Energy says, no, Anthony, I get stuttering in that game on my 7700K, so it's not your i5 2500K. Don't worry about that. And Hybrid Energy says, I think Marvel United was July. Yeah, I have it as one of my July games. I don't have it in the month of... I have Marvel Powers United on July 26th. That's the date I have for that. And budget cuts could make it to Quest, talking about wireless. Although I was thinking about that, but at the same time, I'm thinking, wait a minute, if they're having a problem getting that game to run smoothly on PC, how the hell are they going to get that thing running smoothly on a Snapdragon 835? So no, I don't believe so. So anyways, that is the games of the month of June 2018. What game is going to win Game of the Month? I'll probably announce that tomorrow. It's a pretty close contest, honestly, when you got virtual reality, budget cuts, Contagion VR, Outbreak. It's actually a relatively close contest between those three games. And so that is what we're talking about here. So let's go ahead and we can take a quick look at just general news that is going on out there. So I'm going to bounce back over here and we can go ahead and check out Upload VR. We can check out Road to VR, see what the major stories are going on. I'm going to go ahead and refresh this one time real quick. So they're on day 4 of the 25 best HTC Vive games as they continue to milk that. StarVR claims its headset will be the first to support the VirtualLink USB-C Standard in terms of... It's so weird what's going on with StarVR because we just heard a story that Acer basically has given StarVR 3 months to get its shit together or it's basically going to back out of StarVR. And then this story says it's kind of like a happy story. Like, yeah, StarVR 1 is the first headset to support VirtualLink USB-C Standard. Let's scroll down here. We've been reaching out to representatives from StarVR to get clarity about the status of the headset and the overall organization after filings showed minority investor Starbreeze replaced its CEO during a delisting process in Taiwan just 6 months after listing shares publicly. Yeah, there's a lot of crazy stuff that is going on right now with StarVR. We really don't know what is going on with this product. They seem to be in more of an uncertain kind of a situation than even like HTC with the Vive. Of course, we've already talked about Prey, Typhoon Hunter. Good luck understanding how to get that thing up and running in VR and how much money you got to pay for it. Giant Celebration is Where's Waldo for VR with some neat ideas. I don't know anything about that. Eminem, Volumetric VR, and more lead Sundance 2019's New Frontier lineup. Eminem, that dude got hella old, hella quick, is all I got to say about that. And I really shouldn't be... Oh, Ellen DeGeneres. Actually, you know what? I grabbed a little Ellen DeGeneres video. Let me go ahead and throw that on the screen real quick. Let's switch over to this. Although I just grabbed like a 6-minute thing of Ellen, and I don't know at what point she starts handing out Oculus Go's like they're candy. Okay, so yeah, this is Ellen. I guess this happened yesterday on Ellen. It's like the 12 gifts of Christmas or whatever it is, but everybody in their audience got an Oculus Go headset. Now, why would this be in VR news? Why do we care about this? Well, we care about it because this is how you get the mainstream. Like whenever Conan O'Brien does something VR related, or Jimmy Fallon, or, you know, they do these different VR related things and we might kind of laugh at it. We might think it's kind of dumb and kind of silly, but it's super important. This is critical, like mission critical. Like the Oculus Quest, we have to hope the Oculus Quest gets a lot of publicity on shows like this, on Jimmy Fallon, on, you know, Conan O'Brien, all these different like late night hosts, different things like that, Saturday Night Live, whatever. You want stuff like this mentioned on these kinds of shows because that's how your soccer moms find out about it. That is how your regular Joe and Sally Walmart find out about this kind of stuff, is they're watching these kinds of shows and then tangentially they find out about VR headsets like the Oculus Go. So I think this is super important. They gave one to everybody in the audience, kind of like the Oprah thing. I remember some people were at a certain Oprah show and it was like the Volkswagen Bug, and everybody on Oprah's show, or maybe it was like 12 people on Oprah's show, they all got freaking Volkswagen Bugs. Now that is a major deal. You're getting a $20,000 car compared to people that are just getting freaking a $200 VR headset. But still, I'll take a $200 VR headset. So yeah, all these people are clapping and cheering because free stuff for me. Yay, free stuff for me. So these are all the free things that all these people are getting in Ellen's audience. And I'm not sure how long it's going to take, again, to get to the Oculus Go part of this, but we'll just go ahead and let it run for a minute here. Oh yeah, you get a juicer. How lovely is that? But yeah, all the companies that provide this stuff, like Facebook, they have no problem whatsoever giving Ellen a couple hundred Oculus Go's, because this is the kind of advertising that money cannot buy. Or is it kind of buying it? Yeah, it is kind of buying it. But yeah, you give away 1,000 of these things. It's well worth it. Like on the Today Show or whatever. Look at these people smiling and clapping. Chris Cox says, this shit is sad to watch. It's a necessary evil, man. This is a necessary evil. I'm telling you. You want Joe and Sally Walmart to have an awareness of this stuff. There it is. Okay, here's the Oculus Go part. Yeah, Oculus Go part. Actually, I'll turn up the volume real quick right here.
A sold-out concert from the front row, a live bet. By the way, I'm not regretting this. I'm enjoying it. Just want you to know what's in my head. A live basketball game with anyone, anywhere, or watch a movie in your own private theater.
All right. I don't know how any of that was like a catwalk or a model. The future is now. It's portable, comfortable, and worth over $400. You're all getting 2 Oculus Go headsets.
Oh, yeah.
Bushy Pine, do you like watching TV shows?
Okay, so yeah, that was it. We did get the little Oculus Go moment, so that worked out really well. That blender is sure exciting. Yeah, no, all those people, they got 2 Oculus Go headsets, so it was doubling up. So +1 for a buddy. That is pretty cool. So anyway, yeah, that was in the news. Again, it's not really something that we care that much about personally, but it is important. We do need this kind of stuff. Just seeing what else is on here. So why don't we go ahead and bounce over to Road to VR and see what they got going on today. I'll do a quick little refresh here. You know what? I did hear about this story where Facebook has patented a hybrid Fresnel lens that could make VR optics more clear. So let's go ahead and click on this and see if we can find out a little bit more information about this. Dubbed the hybrid Fresnel lens with reduced artifacts, the new lens creates a larger surface area dedicated to a standard non-Fresnel type like you might find in headsets such as Cardboard or even Samsung's Gear VR, but complements it with a ring of standard Fresnel style ridges near the periphery. The patent was initially filed September 13th, 2016 and subsequently published late last month. Fresnel lenses are great at cutting down on weight. They provide a large aperture and a short focal length that gives the lens equivalent power to a conventional lens design, but at a fraction of the weight. And they do introduce visual artifacts that some users hate. Absolutely. I can tell you, like, the God rays and everything, I mean, obviously it's an issue. And I remember back in the days when I had an HTC Vive, and what I would do is I use like this little 3mm HTC Vive foam thing that was on my headset, and I was getting my eyes way up in there, man. Like I got way more field of view than you would normally get. And I absolutely recommend this to anybody that has an HTC Vive. Just try this for like 5 minutes. Just take off your Vive foam, like the normal Vive foam that comes on there. Just take it off completely. Just have the hard plastic and the Velcro just for 5 minutes, just as an experiment. and just get your head all up in there, and you are getting a major improvement in your field of view. And what I did was I made this super thin, we're talking like 3 millimeters thick, maybe not even that, maybe 2 millimeters thick foam padding that went around my headset, and I would get up in there when it came to my HTC Vive. Now the downside was, oh my God, you see those Fresnel lenses. I mean, you see those rings clear as day. I mean, you definitely saw the rings a lot more right up in your face. It was kind of an issue. It was kind of an irritant. I'm switching up off of that Ellen thing. We spent a little bit too much time on the Ellen thing there. But you definitely see those rings, and they are irritating. That is the Fresnel lenses that we know so well. So hopefully these new, more advanced hybrid version, hopefully that will eventually hit the Oculus Rift S, or whatever they're calling it, the next headset that we end up getting. Hopefully that will happen. So we can also go ahead and check out the Vive subreddit. Let's go to the old man's Vive subreddit. Let me go ahead and refresh this real quick, and we can kind of see what's going on. We've actually been going for well over an hour. We've been going hella long, actually. We're almost at the 1 hour and 20 minute mark, and that's because I started this show I started it 10 minutes late, so I've kind of lost track of how long this show is going. But anyway, just checking some of the things that we have on the Oculus Rift subreddit real quick. Blade and Sorcery, December 11th. Prey VR, December 11th. So we got a lot of stuff coming on December 11th. Arizona Sunshine added as gift to Steam inventory. A lot of people are noticing this. So go ahead and check your Steam accounts and see if you got an Arizona Sunshine gift. I don't know if that was just a complete and total accident or what. And here's an interesting little thing here. Are we still expecting Valve HMD news at the Game Awards tonight? I never knew we were expecting that whatsoever. That's my first knowledge of this. I'm not expecting no HMD news. Honestly, I think CES, maybe CES. Like, I do have one prediction where the Vive Cosmos is actually the mystery HMD. It is the Valve mystery HMD. It is going to be unveiled at the CES in January. Lord Gaben will walk out on stage. No, I doubt that. But that's what we're hoping for as far as that. So no, I don't believe we're going to get any kind of HMD news. What we might get is we might get that Alien game. It might have VR support. We might get a few things about that, but that's about all we're going to get in regards to that. So you know what? That's pretty much it, folks. I'm going to go ahead and bounce out of here, guys. We've been going for a while here, so I'm going to go ahead and Jay Pay says, I'm glad you're running late. Means I can join the gang here live. Not for very long, Jay. Unfortunately, we're wrapping this show up. I should have been out of here a long time ago, but we just kind of kept going and going and going like the Duracell bunny. So let me go ahead and grab my little outro logo here. So yeah, that's going to go ahead and do it for today's show of VR 365 Live. Once again, and man, I keep forgetting to do this. Halfway through the show, I got to start asking you guys to subscribe, like the video, and to leave comments after the show is completely over. And luckily, we have been getting a lot of comments after the show is completely over, and thanks so much for that. And one of the things I do need to do, maybe like on tomorrow's episode for Friday, maybe I could go back and look through some of those comments and highlight some of the best ones, and we can do a little bit of mailbag on tomorrow's episode. So go ahead and leave those comments. We love them. We need them. Definitely subscribe to our show if you could. Also, go ahead and tickle that like button. It helps us out tremendously. And more importantly than all of that is if you could possibly mention this show somewhere. Don't aggressively advertise this show, but if you're talking to somebody on some kind of forum somewhere, you can say, yeah, I was watching the VR 365 live stream and they were talking about blank. You know, you can drop it in nice and subtle style. That's the best way to do it. It's like stealth marketing. It's kind of like these devs getting into Reddit and pretending like, oh, this game is so cool and I just discovered it randomly by accident. And no, I'm not the dev of the game. No, not at all. That could not be the case. It couldn't be further from the truth. But yeah, recommendations of this show is awesome. You gotta know about 5, 10, maybe 500 VR buddies. Let them know about VR 365, but in the most subtlest of ways. It's most effective that way. That's the way to do it. But I will be back tomorrow, Friday, 11 a.m. Pacific time. We'll do a little bit of mailbag, maybe some more interesting trailers to take a look at. And, you know, what was the game of the month for June 2018? I'll go ahead and have that as well on tomorrow's episode. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys then. Take it easy. Later.